Hey everybody, it's Max, and this is a review of Half-Life, released in 1998 for the PC and 2001 for the PS2. Not only is Half-Life one of the most revolutionary games ever, in both the way it tells its story and the immense freedom it gives you in its gameplay, but it's, at least in my opinion, one of the best first-person shooters of all time. Half-Life's story is definitely good, if a bit minimally presented for the first half of the game, and mostly revolves around the main character, Gordon Freeman, trying to escape from the Black Mesa research facility after a failed experiment. But it's the way that Half-Life tells its story that's so great. Unlike other games of the time, and even modern day, Half-Life's story acts as one uninterrupted narrative. There are no levels or even cutscenes. The story is told through scripted sequences where characters or enemies move around and interact with each other and the environment. You maintain control of Gordon throughout, and can choose to ignore them, intervene, although usually to no avail, or just kill everyone involved and take their weapons. This freedom is echoed in the gameplay as well. There are always multiple solutions to each problem. Even when there's a right way to do something, there's nothing that stops you from doing it some other way. Yet Half-Life accomplishes this without overcomplicating the gameplay. It's all based around the mechanics of move, jump, and shoot, but you never run out of ways to use them. For the most part, the game doesn't even really have bosses, but instead powerful enemies that make it difficult to proceed without defeating them. In Half-Life, if it looks like you can do something, even if it seems like you're not supposed to, you probably can. Yet it never feels like you're cheating, because the game rewards you for playing the way you're intended to, and punishes you for not. In many ways, it's a lot like the original Legend of Zelda. Even though it's dangerous to go alone, you can ignore the sword altogether, but it'll be a whole lot harder if you do. In my opinion, this makes Half-Life one of the most realistic games I've ever played, despite its sci-fi setting. From a technical standpoint, Half-Life is equally impressive. Its controls are precise, yet simple. The movement strikes a perfect balance between being fast enough to dodge enemy attacks, and slow enough not to feel like you're sliding around on ice. The one exception to this is the jump, which I find to be both too fast and too long. Half-Life is rendered in full 3D, with graphics that, for the most part, stand up fairly well for a 15-year-old game. One of my favorite parts is the section where you've just escaped Black Mesa, and you jump back down into an underground pipe system. After navigating it, you emerge onto a steep cliff with an amazing mountainous backdrop that really reminds me of the pre-rendered environments seen in many PS1 RPGs. That's not to say, however, that Half-Life is without its issues. As it was developed before Valve's legendary Source engine, Half-Life's physics are not the most realistic, to say the least. For example, to move an object, you simply need to be touching it, leading to the unusual side effect of being able to push something by just standing next to it and walking. This is somewhat of a minor complaint, since many great games have no physics at all, but if you played Portal or Half-Life 2 first, this might be slightly disappointing. Like any game, Half-Life has a few glitches, most of which involve getting stuck inside objects, and mostly only happen when the game is loading a new area. But honestly, these issues are not bad enough to hinder gameplay, and many of them are fixed in Half-Life Source, a Half-Life remake that uses the Source engine. In addition to the single player, Half-Life also has multiplayer. The PC version of the game has online, which, although nothing particularly special, is a fun way to keep enjoying the game after you've already completed it. That is, if you can actually find anyone to play with. And the PS2 version has split-screen versus mode. Overall, Half-Life is a unique and amazing game that manages to incorporate puzzles, platforming, and exploration seamlessly into its gameplay by simply giving you the freedom to play however you want and designing its environments around the knowledge that you will. This is a game where you never feel limited, yet never feel a loss of direction. It manages to be realistically open-ended, while still not losing sight of the narrative. This is one of my favorite games of all time, and if you enjoy classic shooters, or even if you don't, this is a game I would highly recommend.